Oh, that's awesome. Man, at least you didn't go out like a punk.
Yeah. Oh, because I look like a badass.
Are you crying?
Oh. That's funny. I'm okay.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cinematic Adventures. Don't forget, if you guys are listening to us on the go, you can find us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, basically anywhere you get your podcast. You can also find more of our content on our website, themisfitfaction.com. There you find links to not only this show, but some of our other shows like the Multiverse Fancast and MF Uncensored. If you guys watch it on YouTube, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe for more completely mediocre content. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Paul. With me via the Zoom studio and from your mom's diary is Sean. Sean, how are you today?
I'm just great, Paul. How are you?
I'm doing well. May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you too.
So for those of you guys who haven't figured out what we're talking about, because it is the month of May, we typically do at least one Star Wars related episode. At time of recording, it's May 5th. At time of release, it's May 6th. So it's Revenge of the 5th and I think episode 6. I don't know. There's something. I think there's one for the 6th of May. But typically, May 4th is regarded as Star Wars Day because May the 4th be with you. So we thought we'd take a little look at Star Wars at its present state and kind of discuss whether or not, I hate to say it, the Star Wars fatigue is set in and whether or not Star Wars needs to just maybe take a break, see other people, work on itself for a little while. So let's start off the bat with, we are big Star Wars fans. We love Star Wars. I can put on almost any one of the movies for the most part of the original 2 trilogies, which is strange to think that we're saying the original 2 trilogies. Because apparently episode 1 came out 50 years ago. Or episode 4, excuse me.
47 years ago, something like that.
That's wild.
Well, this is the 20th, we're 2024, so this is the 25th anniversary of episode 1.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
There's Disney is doing a lot of Phantom Menace merch. Really some really nice stuff actually. Darth Maul t-shirts, Darth Maul coffee mugs. So yeah, they're really going into it. I mean, and I think it's in theaters too right now in many
Probably.
places.
Well, movie theaters in itself are a whole other thing we're eventually going to talk about whether or not movie theaters are on their way on the decline. But let's talk some Star Wars, which is hilarious because episode 1 had such a terrible fan reception at the time and is now like the sequel trilogy has been lauded in more recent years. It's developing more of a following, more of a fandom to itself. So, what did you?
I think people are. I wouldn't call the prequel trilogy. I would never say it's on par with the original trilogy, never in a million years.
Mhm.
But I think people have also grown to the idea that for what it was, it did its job well. And, we look back on it now and we're like, wow, compared to what we were given in the last decade, it is just crazy how much better the prequel trilogy was.
Yeah. So we've talked ad nauseum about the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, and I think we did episodes on the sequel trilogy, if memory serves correct.
We did all 3. Yeah, this is our fourth. This is our 4th Star Wars.
Oh wow,
Month,
Star Wars
you know.
month, Star Wars theme. But so for us, we're going to talk a little bit more about what came after the sequel trilogy, because I could spend at least an hour just talking about how much I didn't like The Last Jedi. Because I hated The Last Jedi and I hated The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
The Force Awakens is the only good one out of the sequel trilogy.
And that's not even saying much.
I did like The Force Awakens. And still one of my favorite lines of all time is when Finn goes, "We'll use the Force," and Han Solo goes, "That's not how the Force works." I don't know. It always gets me. I love that. But so in the interim since, right? We've got huge increase in the amount of Disney Plus content. That was their big thing, right? And that's also the same thing with Marvel. Same thing with HBO Max did that for their DC stuff. There's been a big push to the streaming side.
Paramount's got the Star Trek. I mean, there's a ton of Star Trek now.
Yeah. Or even like something simpler like Ted and Knuckles, like both.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, all these streaming services, they got to find their hook. What's the big draw that's going to get people to watch these streaming services? And yeah, you called it. Disney Plus with the Star Wars, HBO Max with all the DC, and Peacock with what do they got? That is a good one.
Knuckles just started.
Fast and Furious, all that, and
Well, it's funny because
Well,
even Netflix, who pioneered the streaming service, even they
mhm,
had to change up their strategy. Like Cobra Kai's coming out. Instead
yeah,
of releasing the whole season, they're doing it in 3 parts, 5 episodes apart. I was like, that's the
yeah.
dumb. That's so annoying.
Well, I mean, they're doing the thing where people were smart and they were signing up for the free trials, binge watching these shows, and then not, ending their membership. I mean, it's smart from a business standpoint.
Mhm.
I agree. It's annoying in a viewership point, but then again, we lived for the first 20 years of our lives with regular network television and having to wait a week, possibly more, between episodes. I mean, that's what we lived with forever. So, I mean, we shouldn't be, you know, it shouldn't be weird to us, but to a certain generation, yeah, it could. They're all like, well, I don't want to wait this long. It's not fair.
I don't mind watching a week, like waiting a week between episodes. In fact, I'd rather wait a week and do like 8, 9 episodes than get what Netflix is doing with Cobra Kai, where they do a third and a third and a third with months in
Yeah.
between. Not even a couple of weeks, months.
Well, look what they did with the last episode, the last season of Stranger Things. That was it. That was the first time Netflix was like, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna give them, 5 episodes, and then they got to wait 2 months, and then they'll come back with the final 2 or 3 episodes or something like that.
So
But
dumb.
yeah, no, I mean, it is what it is. But Disney Plus is not doing that though. They're still sticking with everything in one shot, I believe, aren't
Mm-mm.
they?
No,
No,
weekly. We've been watching X-Men 97 weekly.
that's weekly.
Mhm.
Wow, I thought that was like everything at once. All right.
No, Disney Plus. I mean, it started. So let's swing back to Star Wars. Speaking of which, so Disney Plus, this was the first real streaming service to be like, hey, we have this very popular IP that we own. We own Star Wars. What can we do with it? And their first big push was The Mandalorian. Now, The Mandalorian should not have succeeded in the way that it did. The
Yeah.
Mandalorian paved the way for these big companies to make content based off of their existing properties or to take properties with we've seen a lot of copycats since. Like, unfortunately, we watched Halo. I don't think you watched Halo, but
No.
Halo, the main character, Master Chief, never takes his helmet off. Like, that's part of his thing. But they didn't want to be the Mandalorian, so they actively took his helmet off, and it was stupid, stupid. But anyway,
You mean like Judge Dredd is Stallone stupid? Like,
I am Joe Law. Yeah, yeah. I love the second one with Carl Urban. We're all over the place today. I'm really apologizing, everyone.
That's all right.
This is general topics.
I
So
think I think people like it when we're all over the place.
no, it sucks for me editing because then I got to find all these weird clips. But
Oh,
I have to. It's what the people want. They don't want to see us. They want to see clips of movies while we talk over said clips of movies.
fair enough.
I'm gonna put a random clip right there.
What if I just start naming random movies?
Not gonna do it. I'm just gonna literally just put in captions of the movie. Yeah, footage too expensive.
Yeah. So I mean, it's I know we are all over the place, but we really were trying to focus on is there fatigue? We know there's fatigue for superhero movies.
Mhm.
That's been the big draw over the last year. As Marvel just tired out, as DC, well, DC was never good, so as DC just
Whoa, whoa. Calm yourself there. Calm yourself.
I'm sorry, had to get that little dig in,
It's so
but I mean, yeah, I personally believe superhero movies are in a bit of a slowdown period. Hopefully, they will come back and they will be very good. Um, I, Star Wars for me is I just don't really pay attention to all the new stuff that's out right now, and that's not a knock on it. That's not a I have no desire to watch it. It's just something I just never really was like, oh, I have to see this. The only one I paid attention to, the only one I sat in front of the TV and made sure I watched was the Obi-Wan
yeah.
TV series.
So The Mandalorian rolls around and it's met with critical acclaim, like especially the first season. I've seen all seasons of The Mandalorian. I thoroughly enjoy The Mandalorian. I think they kind of got away from the roots of it, and hopefully they kind of swing back. But between they introduced Baby Yoda or Grogu as he's technically called.
Oh
And
my God. Talk about a cultural phenomenon.
oh, big. Still is. Like there's still Baby
Yeah.
Yoda all the time. And I still respected the fact that they use a little puppet for all of it.
Yeah, no, you're right.
But so the Mandalorian rolls around and it's this huge hit for Disney Plus, which is just kind of finding its feet as a streaming service. Because Disney Plus's big thing at first was here's all the things you loved as children, enjoy them,
Yeah,
even though it crashed like the first 6 days. But I tried to log on the very first day. It was a terrible idea.
I got on, no problem.
Well, you are special, aren't you?
I guess so.
I guess so. But anyway, so for us, like the Mandalorian rolls around and Disney has to ask the natural question is what's next? What are we gonna possibly do next? What show followed up the Mandalorian? Do you have your list still?
Book of Boba Fett.
Oh my God, I hated the Book of Boba Fett.
Well, what's interesting about this whole thing is, I mean, we forget it's been 12 years since Disney purchased Lucasfilm.
Mhm.
And that was the first thing they announced when they purchased Lucasfilm is we're making another trilogy. That was the main
Great.
focus
Yes.
right off the bat. Boom. All right, three more movies, and we're gonna also we're gonna expand Star Wars in the theme parks, which they did. Great. Then it was, I want to say it was what, like 2017 when we first heard about a live action Star Wars TV show, but we didn't know anything about it. It was just like, how are you going to do this? This is going to be mad expensive. How are you going to pull this off? We're going to get the guy who basically began the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Jon Favreau. And you know what? He delivered. And
Genius.
I've only seen a couple episodes of The Mandalorian. Its production value is it's fantastic. It's an interesting idea. But and it just started a huge trend now, and that this is where Star Wars is going.
Mhm.
I think, and as we get further into the episode, we'll discuss: is it enough? Is it too much? Well, we don't know.
So season 2 of The Mandalorian rolls around and they spend their time kind of building where they want to go next. They do a whole episode about Ahsoka with Rosario Dawson, who's fantastic, and obviously she got her own show afterwards. And then they introduce Boba Fett or reintroduce Boba Fett. And the thing that sucks the most is that his episode where he's in The Mandalorian is fantastic. It's a great episode. He's awesome in it. Then they give him the Book of Boba Fett, and it's not that good. Like it's really not that good. And they had an episode that was basically an episode of The Mandalorian where Boba Fett's like not even in it at all. And it's all The Mandalorian and it's like his episode. And it's the best episode of the entire show. And it's a testament that if the best episode of your entire show is an episode that does nothing to do with you, you're doing something wrong. But they also reintroduced Luke Skywalker using digital de-aging for Mark Hamill, which was jarring. Great scene, great moment when Luke Skywalker first appears. By the way, spoilers for all these shows to the best of our ability. But they did a great job building hype. And the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian, it's like, all right, well, what's next? Well, we got the Book of Boba Fett. They're talking about Ahsoka now. And they want to bring back like some of the Bad Batch and stuff like that, Star Wars Rebels, all this stuff.
Obi-Wan, that was
Yes. So Obi-Wan was fantastic. We loved Obi-Wan, if memory serves correct. Like
we did.
we thoroughly enjoyed it. But now it's starting to set in a little bit. Like, right, Obi-Wan ends. We're like, okay, like everybody's doing really well. Like then they start talking about, well, maybe we'll do a season 2 of Obi-Wan. Like, no, just leave it. It was good. We liked it.
Yeah.
We don't need more.
Yeah,
But that's
no,
the
I
problem.
agree. You're taking, first of all, you're taking a part of the cinematic lore of the original trilogy and you're adding to it. You're, in a way, are you messing with it? I think Obi-Wan did it in a good way where it didn't fully, screw with the timeline of the original trilogy, but it kind of you get a sense that it it fudged with a few things. I mean, the whole, Uncle Owen and, Obi-Wan kind of dynamic, obviously in the original trilogy just seems like, weird compared to what we get in Obi-Wan.
Mhm.
That was the one. And then now they're like, oh, let's do more. Let's do more. And I'm like, no, you ended it kind of really in the right way. Like, how much more can you do without getting Luke involved? You already have Leia involved. Like, it just, no, leave it alone. Just take the win and go home.
Yeah. So we get rolling around though after that. Like there's talk about what do we want to do with another trilogy? Do we want to do solo movies? Do we want to do trilogies? There is going to be a Mandalorian movie that has been in the works,
Yep,
and that's
I
something
see that.
that's yeah. What else is I'm trying?
The Mandalorian movie is the only one that's actually got a release date for 2026. They have, again, this is not confirmed. Well, it's not 100% confirmed. There's a new Jedi Order film, in the works. There's a Dawn of the Jedi film in the works, and a New Republic film in the works. Those are like the three ones under the Mandalorian film. So I guess those are the three that have a shot of actually making it to theaters at some point in the next 5, 6 years.
What list are you looking at? Are you on
I'm on Wikipedia for what
Wikipedia?
that's.
All right, so let's see. Here's the full lineup of upcoming Star Wars and TV show. Tales of the Empire, May 4th, 2024. That's now. So I guess that already came out. Star Wars The Acolyte, which is coming out June 4th. Star Wars Skeleton Crew TV series. Andor Season 2. Let's see. Ahsoka Season 2. The Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Taika Waititi's untitled Star Wars movie. James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi movie. Dave Filoni's Mandoverse New Republic movie. It's new Jedi Order movie, Rogue Squadron movie, the Mandalorian season 4 slash supposedly the Book of Boba Fett season 2. I hope not. Lando Calrissian movie. Wow. All right. Rangers of the New Republic TV series presumed canceled, and then a bunch that are presumed canceled and confirmed canceled. All right. So we've got a lot to look forward to. Unfortunately, do you find that Star Wars, is it better to go back in time in that universe or to move forward in that universe? What would your preference be?
That's a great question. I'm not gonna lie, like I don't know, in all of those movies you just listed, I didn't even hear about the Daisy Ridley,
Hmm.
the Ray. There's a whole new, series that they're gonna focus on Ray. I would like to see more of her. I think, she was a very interesting character, and I would like to see where her character goes. Um, I just wasn't all that blown away by the characters of the new trilogy, like besides really her. And do I really want to see more of that? I mean, I guess I'll see it, but or do we want to? I would like to see more between the end of Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. I want to see more of that timeline.
Yeah. So
Whether
that's
that means whether that means you redo what happened in the sequel trilogy, like we actually get, the actual what Han and Leia's son was really supposed to be like in like books and stuff. But I don't know. That's kind
yeah.
of where I feel like we should go.
The only things we've seen, right? The Mandalorian and all those subsequent shows all take place after the fall of the Empire. It's that in between
Yeah.
period of the fall of the Empire and the rise of the First Order. And yes, I do agree. I want to see more of what what was going on during that. I want to see the original. I would love to go back to the Old Republic and see like the Jedi Order at its peak, like
Hmm.
well before Obi-Wan, even before Yoda, like thousands of years ago. I think it also gives them a little bit more freedom to play around with. If we're
Yeah.
if we're gonna go into the future, we need to start looking at new characters and really writing them well, rather than basing all the nostalgia feelings. Like as much as I loved having Han Solo, Chewie, Luke Skywalker, Leia Organa all back for the new series, even Lando for his creepy cameo, like I it wore thin because you didn't have a strong enough story to support it. You could tell that they wrote the new Star Wars movies with, here's how we're going to build it around these legacy characters.
Yeah.
And they've been honest. Like the Force Awakens is about Han Solo and like his return to the form. Then it's Luke Skywalker, and then Leia Organa was supposed to be the focus of the last one, but unfortunately, with Carrie Fisher's tragic passing, they had to really rework it. I do agree with you to a point. I think that there was a lot of potential for characters like Finn and Poe, and I think that they were just the
Right.
victims of really bad writing, especially
I
in the
agree.
last movie.
I
Um,
agree.
there were moments where the three of them together were a lot of fun. You could tell they have a lot of good chemistry. They work well with each other. I would have much rather seen a movie of the three of them going on an adventure without, having all the backlog of all the just there's a lot of heavy burden on them from the original films, and unfortunately I think that combined with the poor script writing and a lot of very quick pivoting, because they didn't like this, do this.
Yeah. No, we've gone over it to nauseum how much Disney and Lucasfilm really dropped the ball on the sequel trilogy, and just it was just a mix of listening to the fans, not listening to the fans, worrying too much about what the fans think, and not just coming up with a good story, focusing too much on the nostalgia, which again in the last 2 years I just feel like that's what we've been like. Everything is going on nostalgia now. Like every You know, whether it's the Flash, whether it's the Doctor Strange movie, whether it's, you know, Spider-Man, you know, everyone's focusing on the nostalgia, going back to, you know, try and like bring back these characters that we loved from like 20 years ago, and we're all like, and I'm kind of like, all right, like we didn't like this stuff then. Why are we caring about it now? Like, let's, you know, let's just hammer out good stories that we can enjoy now and not worry about what happened in the past.
Yeah, or at
But
least do it in a better way where it's not necessarily the entire plot is reflecting around the nostalgia. Like The Mandalorian season 2 is a perfect example. The whole season they're trying to find the Jedi to give Grogu over to his people, right? And you get throughout it, you get a couple of nods here and there. You get your Ahsoka episode, but she's like, "I'm not a Jedi. Like I'm stopped being a Jedi a long time ago." So you finally get that last cameo scene of Luke Skywalker, and that's what it is. It's only
yeah,
1 second of Mark Hamill. The rest is just a body double who's just tearing through droids. It's one of the best Star Wars scenes of all time. But they were smart to not make him a main character or try and make like, all right, this is all about Luke Skywalker. They were
yeah,
smart to just use that to enhance the story. And that's what a good cameo or good nostalgia should do. It should enhance the story that you're already writing. The problem we're going with is everybody's going the opposite way, where it's get the nostalgia, then build the story around the nostalgia. The nostalgia
mhm,
and all that stuff should only enhance your story. Perfect example, going X-Men First Class, the Wolverine cameo is one of the best cameos of all time, where they
yeah,
walk into the bar and he's just like, go F yourself. And they just leave. And it's awesome. And it's a split second, but it still works. That's why I'm a little worried about Deadpool and Wolverine coming out, because I'm afraid how they're going to go too far into the meta with it. And that's a lot of what we're dealing with.
yeah. That seems to be the way to go now. Like, oh, what cameos are we going to get in this movie? Like, well, what old characters are we going to see in this movie? You know,
Mhm.
like, okay, I get it. I mean, again, perfect example is like, look at the reaction of Andrew Garfield to Spider-Man in No Way Home, and it's like, and Paul's the perfect example is, you know, he liked Andrew Garfield from the get go, but on all these fans are like, oh, it's so great. I was like, where were you when he was playing the character for real? Like everybody was
Mhm.
shitting on him, and now everybody's like, oh my god, he's so good. Why didn't we get more?
Make Amazing Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, it's like, come on. It's like,
No.
what are we
So
doing?
I think for the next trilogy, they need a good spacing of time, and they don't necessarily need to have an evil empire to fight. You don't need it.
Now you
I
don't.
am totally fine if they want to do movies based around like Rey rebuilding the Jedi Order, or all right, this is gonna sound a little, I don't know what's the word, confrontational, a little, I don't know, something, but controversial. That's what I was going for. What if they did either an anthology trilogy where each movie is a different story, or they just do individual movies? We saw good success, and that was where the Star Wars fatigue really started, was Solo, a Star Wars story.
Solo, you could argue Rogue One.
Well, Rogue One's considered a great Star Wars movie, and I thoroughly enjoy it. It did
It's
well.
considered a good movie, but I'm like, we didn't need it.
No,
We knew
absolutely
what
not.
happened. We knew these people were going to die. Like there was no, you know, there was no surprise coming.
But see, and that's why Rogue One was a better example, because even though we knew these characters were going to die, we were still pretty upset when it happened. Like,
Yeah, you would be if
because
you're
you got
invested for 2 hours into these characters. But I
but
just
there
was
are
like,
plenty of times where we've watched movies and a character dies, and we're like, I don't even remember that character's name. To introduce characters in a film and have the audience care about them, that's good. It's good screenwriting. So
yeah,
Rogue One is a great script. And again, they did their nostalgic cameos very, very carefully. The Darth Vader scene, which was a reshoot of all things, is one of the best Star Wars moments. When
yeah,
that hallway is dark and you just hear his breathing and suddenly that lightsaber, oh man, it's still awesome. But that movie, they had to dissect and really rip apart and then almost reshoot the entire thing. But which sometimes works in their favor in this case.
yeah.
But then Solo, a Star Wars story, comes out, and we're like, did we really need to know that his last name was Solo because he was all by himself? Stupid. One of the most iconic characters. It's like, oh, Indiana Jones? Jones is my dad's last name. That's why it's mine. Oh, okay. Thank you for explaining it. Like that. That's how dumb that sounds. So for me, like Solo, a Star Wars story rolls around, I couldn't even tell you what the plot is. I don't remember it at all.
I don't remember either. Like I just no.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
I think the best thing that they can do is start with a clean slate and be like, here are the characters that we want to use. Here are the characters that are completely off limits. what can we do? What are our possibilities? What storylines have already been created that could naturally grow? And
Mhm.
what do we need to just kind of say la vie, right? Do we need an evil empire for them to fight? No, we don't.
No.
I'm actually totally okay with the idea of Rey going around just trying to create the new Jedi Order and like going planet to planet just trying to find people. I could
Yeah.
watch that movie. And then having maybe like a Sith that's trying to kill her. Like you can have a bad guy. You need a bad guy. You need an antagonist. You need something that propels the plot forward. But in all honesty, do you need the evil empire with the world destroying spaceship? No, you don't. So, what about you? What do you want?
That's a great question. I really thought TV was the way to go. I just didn't think they were going to be like spouting these TV shows out at just a killer rate. I thought they were going to, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? They were going to, spread them out a little more. It just feels like boom, 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 new show, new show, new show, new show. And I'm like, okay, can we take a break? Can we take a breather? But if you ask me which I would prefer, I mean, I'm always going to go movie just
Mm,
because to see a Star Wars movie is an experience to be in that theater, to see that opening crawl, if you're going to even use that opening crawl. That would also be a factor. Like, are you going to tie these in somehow and just have that be like you said, an anthology idea would be, I think that would be interesting. But I feel like people would want to see the different stories interact at some point.
right.
But I don't
Would you,
know.
you tie them all
It's
together at the end of a
you
trilogy?
could, you
Yeah.
could, you could. Yeah. I again, I don't know enough about other characters in the universe that have not been put into movies,
Mhm.
and or any characters that we could, finally bring to the silver screen. That I don't know.
And that's
But
the problem also. You have a show like Ahsoka. Ahsoka is completely guilty of it, where you needed to have a fair amount of lore-based knowledge in order to fully enjoy. So you can still enjoy it without it. Like my knowledge of Star Wars Rebels and all that stuff is a lot less than I would pride myself on. Like the original trilogy, I can tell you fun facts and stories and lore and all that stuff, but like the newer
Mhm.
stuff, I kind of fell off on. But I would be actually okay if they introduce brand new characters for this new trilogy, living in this, now Republic controlled world universe where, things are good, but I would be okay if at the very end you run into like Grandmaster Jedi Rey, like something like crazy like that. Like at the end you see like a fully, because that's one thing from the Star Wars movies that they never did was
Mhm.
Grandmaster Luke Skywalker. Like Luke Skywalker at the peak of his abilities. The closest we'll ever get to it visually was the Mandalorian scene.
Mandalorian.
But in the books and in the comics and all these tie-ins, like when Luke finally takes over the Jedi Order, like he uses the Force to broadcast a message across the entire galaxy that he was taking over as the
Yeah.
Grand Master of the Jedi Order, like Yoda was.
That's where I think like there's a serious discussion. Like, does Lucasfilm and Disney like totally cut ties with the sequel trilogy? Do they just say, "Oops, our bad. We're not gonna. This is no longer canon. We're gonna redo something." Like, I'm not saying redo the movies, but like, are they gonna go back and I'm not saying include Mark Hamill or Harry. You obviously can't include. Well, you can include Harrison Ford if you want to, but he's not going to do it.
Mm-mm.
But like, do you redo that storyline? Do you do something to like, usurp everything that just happened in that trilogy? Like, I don't know. Like, that's the thing. It's like, do you just do a big redo? Do you throw the redo Uno card down on the ground and go, all right, guys, let's think of something better because this obviously wasn't that good.
Yeah.
You
As long as they don't go the Star Trek route where they create an alternate timeline, because I think
Yeah.
alternate timelines and time travel in Star Wars would just it'd be too much at that point.
Oh no, it'd be too much. I
Yeah.
agree.
But I
Eh,
think I think a clean slate with Star Wars is probably the best thing that they can do, and then just kind of have those cameos and have those moments. Like I'd be okay with seeing like, oh hey, Finn is a captain in the New Republic army, so like you see him at some point during like a mission, or
mhm.
like Poe's now the admiral of because stupid Poe. I hated him in the second movie. I loved him in the first movie, but like the whole we don't have to listen to you if you're not going to tell us what you're going to do. I had a plan the whole time, you ass. Oh, okay, I mutinied. I win. Like I can't. They did not know how to write those characters, and that's the
Nah,
biggest
they
problem.
didn't. They didn't.
I
It
actually
was-
had no problem with Luke and Rey's interactions for the most part. I actually enjoyed a lot of them. The best is when she's got her hand down and her eyes closed and he's like touching her with the leaf. Oh, do you feel the force? You feel it? Swack. Ow. Like, some of those moments were really good, but the problem is Star Wars fans. Not only are Star Wars fans a rabid fan base who do not like when things do not go their way, they also have massive expectations. That's why the Last Jedi fell short in most fans' eyes, is because this is what we expected, but we got something. It like quality wise, the Last Jedi isn't bad. It's like it's still beautifully shot. The effects are good for the most part, but it was so far out of left field that most Star Wars fans were like, we didn't want this. We wanted Luke Skywalker. We wanted the Luke Skywalker. Like it
Yeah.
sucks, and we got glimpses of it, but I think that's the biggest issue. But we want to hear your thoughts. So if you guys are watching on YouTube, leave a comment down below about what you expect to see from the Star Wars universe. Is Star Wars fatigue real? Do you guys think it's still a thing, or is it something that's gotten alleviated over time? But we would love to hear more from you guys. And speaking of which, we do have our fan feedback Friday. So for Fan
Sure.
Feedback Friday this week, we did a movie that you have seen at least 5 times and still want to watch again. So I figured it's Star Wars. It was kind of Star Wars related. Let's see.
Yeah.
We have a lot. The Music Man, Singing in the Rain, any Harry Potter movie. Let's see. The Pirate movie, Grease 2, Robin Hood Men in Tights, History of the World Part 1, any Mel Brooks movie, really. Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Rockadoodle, A League of Their Own, Clue, and the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Most of those were from producer Melanie. Some Like It Hot, Doctor Strangelove, Airplane, solid. The Maltese Falcon, The Thin Man, and I think that's pretty much it. Did you have one? A movie you can watch more than 5 times?
God, there's so many movies, but any of the Back to the Future films, any of the original Star Wars trilogy, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, any of the old monster movies. I mean, I could go on. It's a loaded question, but
I know, but it was a lot of fun. That's why we had so many answers. I love it. I'd say Honey, I Shrunk the Kids comes to mind first. I can watch that more than 5 times, but I
haven't done an episode on that one.
I know we got to do the whole series. We got to do, but there's 3 of those movies and a TV show.
3 movies and a TV show, and there was supposed to be a movie with Josh Gad, but got kiboshed.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with it. But I think that's pretty much going to wrap us up. If you guys want more of our content, our website, themisfitfaction.com, is always there. You can also find us on all the social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. Just type in The Misfit Faction or Cinematic Adventures. Odds are you'll find some of our stuff. But I do believe that is going to wrap us up for today. As always, I'm Paul.
I'm Sean.
And we'll see you guys next time. May the 4th be with you.
And also with you.